Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, home care, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corrie Sorot, a clinical social worker specializing in grief and loss.
Corrie, you have a big day tomorrow, don't you? I'm going to give you, let me be the first to wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you know my fun fact? Tomorrow's March 13th. I was born on a Friday.
Oh, Friday the 13th, baby. Yay. You know what? You kind of get ripped off tomorrow, don't you? You only get a 23-hour birthday, don't you?
Oh my God, that's right. The time change. Oh, everybody, don't set your clocks. Well, yeah, set them because then we're going to get more sunlight, but I will be losing an hour. Does that mean I'm an hour younger?
Yeah, why not? Go with that.
Okay, I'm going to try. In the meantime, maybe I'm going to talk a little bit about welcoming everybody to our segment called Helping Moms and Dads, where we provide guidance and support to the sandwich generation. We have definitely had a multitude of interesting and knowledgeable guests come over the last several weeks, and they're talking about a whole host of topics that really are, I believe, helping families cope with the challenges of the aging process. And of course, this week is no exception. Matt, what's up?
You know what? And I see this a lot. I see seniors struggle with technology. I've seen seniors that have adapted it, and I've seen a lot of adult children trying to help out their folks and grandparents. So we wanted to address how technology is helping seniors and their families live healthier, safer, and happier lives. And that's why we're super pleased to have our tech expert, Marc Salzman, on the line. And for the past 25 years, Marc has been a prolific tech expert with one simple goal: to break down geek speak into street speak. Marc is a freelance journalist for more than 20 publications. He's a radio and television personality and public speaker. He's also the host of the Tech Impact TV show, which airs on Bloomberg Television and Fox Business in the U.S. Marc specializes in consumer electronics, automotive innovations, interactive entertainment, and future trends. You may also know him as the host of Tech Talk. Marc, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you, Matt and Corrie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us here on a Saturday. And let's get right into it, Marc. I know one of the challenges that became very clear in the pandemic is how loneliness and isolation has affected people and continues to affect individuals. So there are solutions, and I'd like to discuss some of the video platforms that are out there that will help people connect with their loved ones.
Sure. And these were starting to become popular even pre-pandemic. I would just argue that COVID-19 was the great accelerator for technology, for embracing new technology, even if some are kicking and screaming, whether they're seniors or not. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it became a necessary thing to, as you said, to stay connected and feel less isolated when we were going through, lockdowns and, quarantining and all of that. So video is, I would argue, a powerful way to stay in touch with those who matter. And there are several and free platforms in which to engage with family, friends, and also telehealth, with a physician when you can't be there in person. It can do wonders, right? I'm preaching to the converted here with what both of you do, but that also, I would argue that, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you're in the sandwich generation, as I am, and you're calling your mom or your dad or what have you to see how they're doing, a phone call is fine, and you may be able to glean how they're really doing, despite what they may be saying. But when you can see their face, that could also, and the environment around them, that could also tell a bigger picture. So with consent, video chatting is great. As for the popular platforms, there are many. Zoom became kind of the star of the pandemic, if you will. It's been around for a while, mostly for businesses, but it's just a real easy way on virtually any device that you have to have a video call or a group video call. Whether you're having, your aging mom or your granddad wants to have a meal with someone virtually, or just for a quick check-in or what have you. So Zoom is popular still. I would argue Microsoft Teams, which sort of replaced Skype, same idea. There's FaceTime. There's a WhatsApp Messenger, Facebook Messenger. There's so many different platforms. FaceTime, which is Apple's proprietary video chatting platform, opened up about 6 months ago to non-Apple devices too. It's not as graceful because there's no app for like an Android phone or a Windows computer. It's using more of a website, but it works. So FaceTime is also popular. So the only catch is that everybody's just got to be using the same one, right? Like if I want to call my mom on Google Duo or Google Meet or whatever, she has to have that as well. But otherwise, it all works. Sometimes there's games you can play, interactive games while you're chatting. Other times it's just a straightforward call. But all you need is a camera, a device in which to use it with a microphone so that the other person can hear you, whether it's, again, a smartphone, tablet, or computer, or something you plug into your TV, or a standalone gadget like a Facebook portal or a Google Nest or anything like that.
That's the voice of tech expert Marc Salzman. He's talking to us about technology and how it is absolutely helping seniors and their families lead healthier, safer, and happier lives. I get a little nervous when we talk about seniors and technology because I sort of feel like, therefore, I am a senior. but notwithstanding that, I know that there's a lot of smart homes that are around, and they are becoming more popular for families that have loved ones that live on their own. So can you provide us with a few examples of why a smart home could benefit a senior?
Yeah, great question. So a smart home isn't necessarily one thing. It sounds like a single thing, a smart home, right, but it's really a collection of devices. And it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. Based on your needs and budget, it's modular. You can add things to your home to make it smarter. And that includes for those who want to live in place or age in place, whatever the term is of the day, independent living, having your loved ones live longer independently instead of going into an assisted living environment. So smart home devices can be one part of the solution, and there's many. So one could be the cameras that we just talked about. And some of them have motion sensing, so they will be activated when you sit in front of it. So if you're aging mom or your granddad, whatever, not so familiar, not so comfortable with technology, you can have it just start. It depends on the platform, but that's one solution. One that I'm a fan of is sensors that you can place around the home. And these are less obtrusive, if you will, because there's no camera. It's just a trigger, if you will. It could be a motion sensor or what have you. But the idea is that it can tell a caregiver who is not there with them if the person who is living independently is doing something or not doing something. So let me explain. If it is unusual that for your mom to not leave her bedroom by, say, 9:30 a.m., then that should tell a caregiver, such as their daughter or son, that there's something maybe suspicious and you should check in with them. So you put a sensor on the doorway of the bedroom, and if it's not triggered by 9:30, let's say, then someone would be notified on, say, an app or on a phone or on a smartwatch. Or similarly, if the fridge hasn't been opened in several hours, maybe you have a loved one who has a cognitive impairment, I don't know, let's say dementia or including Alzheimer's, that if they forget to eat, then you could be notified that they haven't opened the fridge door in, say, 7 hours. Or a medicine cabinet, which we can get to more in a moment about medicine dispensers and alarms, medication dispensers, which is also ideal for those who may have some sort of dementia, which again is helping people live longer independently. So sensors I'm a fan of because whether they're triggered or whether they're not, you can be notified. So, and they're relatively inexpensive. There's a lot of different platforms out there. One big one is called alarm.com out of the US, and they have people in Canada, including the Montreal area, who will install it for you. And again, you can have as many or as few as you want. It often just requires one little setup, and then you install the app. And they last a long time if they are battery operated, or they can be plugged in. So those are a popular solution because they're not cameras. So the person feels often more comfortable. Again, all of this, in my opinion, requires consent, but certainly not having like a sensor is a little bit less invasive than a camera.
Yeah, I would agree. Less invasive, I think, makes people feel more comfortable. And you bring up a very important point there. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed, and we're talking to tech expert Marc Salzman about how technology is helping out seniors and their families live happier, healthier lives. Marc, we have to head out to traffic, but when we come back, we want to be talking about a couple of very important things. You talked about medication management. There's been some wonderful advancements with medical alert devices, including fall detection technology and the very sensitive topic about installing cameras either in your senior's residence or even at home. So we're going to address all that.
We are talking to tech expert Marc Salzman about technology and how technology is helping seniors and their families live healthier, safer, and happier lives. So, Marc, I want to talk about these cameras because I'm very intrigued by the whole concept of this. At the same time, I'm a clinical social worker and I deal with confidentiality all the time. So one of the things I want to ask you about is, well, one is a little about, how cost effective they are, but also about confidentiality. What are those challenges, whether it's at their home or in a residence? Go for it.
Sure. So as we talked about earlier, I'm a firm believer in consent, and just to sit down with your family members and talk with them about why you would like them to have a camera, whether it's on all the time or they turn it on manually when they want to chat. Maybe you've got a scheduled time every day or every night, or it's triggered by, say, motion or sound and the camera turns on. Whether it's in a residence, which introduces a whole other slew of questions, but as long as the senior understands why you would like that, it's for their own benefit, and there's sometimes like privacy shutters and things you can close and turn off, which I would recommend even for webcam users, but that's a whole other discussion altogether.
Right.
Generally, yeah, it's a tool in your arsenal in order for a remote caregiver to see what's going on with the folks who are living alone or living in some sort of environment. So living in other environment with others, perhaps. So we chatted about that earlier. There's lots of solutions. They're relatively affordable. You can buy even brand name cameras for about $30 or less that just join your Wi-Fi. There's other ones that use cellular, that are outdoors and all that, but that's not what we're talking about today, but more indoor Wi-Fi enabled cameras that are easy to set up and use. Let's call them nanny cams, if you like.
Right.
There aren't usually ones dedicated for seniors directly, even though sometimes they're marketed as such. They can sometimes go on top of a television, and plug in that way. But they usually are internet connected and they're fairly easy to use. But the idea is, why are you using them? Not just because it's a gadget and a gimmick kind of thing, but this is a tool to help care for someone who you're not with in person. So it's a delicate conversation, and I'm sure you've got some good feedback on that, on how to deal with that, Corrie. But I think it's a necessary one, and it isn't for everyone, but it could be depending on the person, and every situation is different, but an assessment is, whether it's a professional one or a family sitting down, it's a good conversation to have.
Talking with tech expert Marc Salzman here on Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie. You brought up a very good point. At the end of the day, it's consent. Even in residences, you need to make the residents aware that there is a camera in the room, but it's getting more and more accepted. Marc, I want to switch gears a little bit. There's been some tremendous advancements in these medical alert devices. Like Lifeline, you've got those wrist watches or your necklaces. Can you tell us a little bit more about the advancements and even with fall detection, which is improving? Sure.
So in some ways, not much has changed since the late 80s with the commercial "Help, I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up," which is a Lifeline, by the way.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But and they're still around. But there has been some new improvements as well. In collectively, we'll call them the wearables space. Which is not just for seniors, of course, but I love the health aspects to it, like fall detection, as well as with some of these smartwatches like Apple Watch, the ability to monitor your heart with a built-in ECG feature, so it can detect a dangerously high or low heart rate or a regular heart rhythm or arrhythmias. They have sometimes blood oxygen monitors or pulse oximeters to assess the amount of oxygen carried in the body by sending light into your wrist, which is pretty wild. So there's some really neat things, but fall detection is, of course, a big one for seniors. So with Philips Lifeline, it's still very much a service. There's 4 different ones to choose from. They can be a wearable pendant around the neck or worn on the wrist. But the idea is that if it senses a fall, it would contact someone who will talk with you. And if you do not respond, then or if you say, I need help, I did in fact fall, they'll call emergency services and also your loved ones as well. There's different products. Some work only indoors, some are outdoors, some are cellular based or GPS based, some are not. So they start at generally about $42 or $43 a month, and then goes up from there. So not inexpensive. And that's where I like Apple Watch, because the fall detection and some of the other features, it's not a recurring cost. It's a one-time fee for the watch. And yes, Apple Watch is on the higher end. It's about $369 to start. But there are other smartwatches that also can detect a sudden fall and ask how you're doing. And if you do not reply, or if you say, I did fall, then it will go down the list and call emergency services and your loved ones. But it will not have a two-way feature, which is what Philips really sort of builds their platform on. That being said, TELUS has announced last year a feature that adds on to the Apple Watch. In fact, they sell the Apple Watch with this, what's called TELUS Health Companion. It's about $54 a month, and it includes an Apple Watch, and it will allow you to have a two-way chat through the watch should it detect a fall. And that's through TELUS Health's, I think it's called Living Well. It's their platform.
That's it.
Same idea. It's like a central monitoring station, right? Where a live operator would contact the person the moment a fall is detected. So this is important. So these are great. So whether it's Philips Lifeline, which again is a monthly subscription, there's the Home Safe product, there's the Go Safe, which is for outdoors. A watch like Apple Watch is great, or Samsung has one too. And then there are apps like even GM, which they're known for their OnStar service for vehicles. If it detects an accident, you've seen the commercials. A live operator comes on and says, "Are you okay? Do you need us to?" The same thing with this OnStar Guardian app, where you might have seen this commercial where a woman rather, can't find her father. He's a wanderer. Yeah, and then she tracks him down through the app. Onto a park bench and sits down with him and brings him back home. But the thing is that he has to have a phone with him with that app installed. So if you leave the phone, then that's not ideal. So it's not perfect, but we're really getting there, where these are relative, and that's free, by the way, if you have an OnStar safety and security plan, or $15 a month. Otherwise,
it's amazing, Mark, how the technology
is coming down in price.
It is. It's amazing, and we're seeing changes all the time. Mark, we are already out of time, and we have so much more to cover. We're going to have to catch you back, because we love the technology, and it's being simplified. But before we go, and we really want to thank you for taking time here on a Saturday. How can people find out more about you, Mark?
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. So I'm on social media. If your listeners are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, it's Marc Salzman, Marc with a C, SALTZMAN. I write a tech tip of the day. I link to the articles that I write, including one coming out on living in place or aging in place for the Toronto Star. I link to radio and podcast interviews. There's giveaways, that kind of stuff. So I would encourage you to follow me on social media if you like. And if not, and you just want to send me a private email, my website is marcsalzman.com. If you have a tech question about anything we've chatted about, it'd be my pleasure.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you very much for joining us. That's Marc Salzman, our tech expert, and we appreciate your time. We want to thank you for tuning in to Life Unrehearsed. As a reminder, for all your inquiries or assistance with navigating home care, seniors' residences, or downsizing, it'd be my pleasure to help. Our services are completely free. Call me at Lianas Senior Transition Support. Many thanks to our technical producers. Ben, great job, Ben. And you could listen to Life Unrehearsed here on CJAD 800 every Saturday at 3 p.m. And just a reminder not to forget to change those clocks tonight.